He always had the same pattern: disappear for a few hours, come back with a sweet apology, swear he was just clearing his head. One night, I followed him. He drove to a bar and walked in holding another woman's hand. My hands trembled as I snapped a picture. Later that night, as he smiled at me over dinner, I pulled out my phone and whispered, "Funny, you were holding her hand the same way." His smile faded, and that's when he knew his double life was about to crumble. I never thought I'd post here, but after what happened, I don't even know who to talk to. So here I am. If you've ever had your entire relationship blow up in front of your face and had to sit across the table from someone you thought you knew, watching them lie to your face, you'll understand. This isn't some fantasy or story for clicks. This happened to me. I'm still trying to figure out what to do next. But I need to write it out. Maybe someone out there will read it and recognize the signs I ignored for too long. I'm a 42-year-old woman living in Boise, Idaho. I've lived here my whole life. 5 years ago, I met Kevin at a backyard barbecue hosted by a friend from work. He was 45, tall, dark-haired, calloused hands, outdoorsy type. One of those quiet guys who lets you do most of the talking, but knows how to make you laugh at just the right moment. He was charming in that slow burn way, where you think, maybe this one is different. Kevin was a contractor. Owned a small business. Got up early, worked late. Always smelled like sawdust and coffee. He loved fishing and old movies and claimed to hate social media. Said it was all fake. I didn't care. I liked that he kept things simple. At least, I thought he did. We started dating a few weeks after we met. It was easy at first. Dinners at home. Long drives. Little weekend trips to McCall or Twin Falls. He called me his piece. Said I was the calm he didn't know he needed. And for a while, I believed him. I really did. But early on, there was something he did that never felt quite right. Whenever we'd argue, even about something small, he wouldn't stay and talk it through. He'd just leave. No yelling. No slamming doors. He'd just grab his keys and go. "I need to clear my head," he'd say. "I'll be back in a bit." Sometimes it was 30 minutes. Sometimes it was 3 hours. Then he'd walk back and like nothing happened. Usually with a smoothie or a snack from the gas station. Sometimes a little trinket like a scratch-off ticket or a keychain. Always smiling, always soft-spoken, always apologetic. "I just needed to breathe," he'd say. "You know I love you." And I'd let it go. It happened enough that it became normal. I even told myself it was healthy. Like, better than yelling, right? Better than someone throwing stuff or cheating. At least he came back. I got used to the disappearances. Trained myself not to panic. But deep down, they always left me with a weird feeling in my chest. Like I wasn't seeing the whole picture. Last summer, everything started to shift. Kevin took on a new job remodeling a bar in Meridian, about 15 minutes from us. It was supposed to be a quick job, but he kept saying the owner kept changing her mind on design stuff. "She's a nightmare," he'd say. "Can't make up her damn mind." Suddenly, he was always at that bar. Nights, weekends, even some early mornings. Said they were on a tight deadline. I didn't push too hard at first. I've never been the jealous type. I've worked long hours myself. But after a few weeks, he got colder at home. No more forehead kisses. No cuddling in bed. No random "I love you" texts during the day. Instead, he was glued to his phone. I'd see him smiling at it, laughing sometimes. When I'd ask who it was, he'd shrug it off. "Just Mike from the crew. Guy's an idiot." He never let me see the messages. I remember one time I reached for his phone to check the weather, and he grabbed it off the table like it was on fire. Told me he needed to charge it. Little things like that started adding up. I brought it up gently one night. "You've been kinda distant lately," I said. "Is everything okay?" He looked at me, smiled, and said, "Just tired. Babe. The job's draining. But I'm okay. I'm always okay with you." That smile used to mean something. Now it felt fake. Like he was trying to get out of something. And then the disappearances came back. Not tied to arguments anymore. Just random. "Gonna take a drive. Clear my head." He'd say it casually and I'd nod. But this time, I felt it in my gut. Something was wrong. You know that tight feeling you get in your chest when you know someone's lying, but you can't prove it yet? That became a regular thing for me. One night, he got home late, after midnight. Said he'd gone to Lowe's to look at materials. I asked if the store was even open that late, and he laughed and said he was just in the area. Needed to think. Came back with a smoothie and some snacks. But that night, after he showered, he left his phone on the nightstand. I wasn't even snooping. The screen lit up. I glanced at it. A text from someone named Kelsey B. "Miss you already. Can't wait to see you again tomorrow." My heart dropped. I didn't say anything. I just stared at that message. Didn't open the phone. Didn't touch anything. Just committed the name to memory. The next day, I did what any woman with internet access would do. I searched. Kelsey Barnes. Found her on Facebook after about 20 minutes. Blonde. Maybe 35. Divorced. Lives in Nampa. Pretty in a casual kind of way. Her profile was mostly public. Lots of pics of her dog, some gym selfies, and a few bar pics. One of them stopped me cold. It was her, smiling outside a bar. The Doghouse Bar and Grill. The same bar Kevin was remodeling. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe she just liked the place. Maybe she was the owner's friend. Maybe Kevin was just being friendly. But that message. That heart emoji. I waited. I kept watching. Over the next 2 weeks, he mentioned Kelsey in passing. Once said, Kelsey finally picked the light fixtures. Thank God. Said it like she was just another annoying client. But I already knew. He didn't know I knew. And I wasn't ready to confront him yet. Then came the night everything fell apart. He said he had to run back to the bar. Something about a cabinet order being messed up. Said he'd be home late, not to wait up. I said okay. I waited 5 minutes. Then I grabbed my keys and followed him. It felt insane. Like I was doing something wrong. But I had to know. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. My heart was beating out of my chest. I stayed a few cars behind and kept my lights dim. He pulled into the parking lot of the doghouse. I parked across the street behind a pawn shop. From there, I could see the bar entrance. He got out, looked around, smoothed his shirt. And then she walked out. Kelsey. She was smiling, wearing this red dress. Hair done. And she walked right up to him like it was the most normal thing in the world. He held out his hand. She took it. Not just holding. Fingers intertwined. Like lovers. He leaned in and kissed her cheek. Then opened the bar door for her, still holding her hand, and they walked in together. I took out my phone. Took a photo. My fingers were trembling. I almost dropped the phone. But I got the shot. That night, he came home around 11. Walked in with Thai takeout and a bottle of wine. Smiling. Said the bar owner was finally happy with the shelves and he was wrapping up soon. He acted like everything was fine. We sat at the table. Ate in silence for a while. He said, "You okay? You've been quiet lately." I nodded. "I'm okay." Then I pulled out my phone. Opened the photo. Slid it across the table. He stared at it. Didn't blink. Didn't say anything right away. Just looked at it. Looked at me. I whispered, "Funny. You were holding her hand the same way you used to hold mine." And that's when his face changed. After I slid the phone across the table and said what I said, he just sat there. Silent. He didn't deny it. Didn't even try. He looked at the photo, then at me, and said, "It's not what you think." I laughed. Out loud. I couldn't help it. That old, tired line? Not what I think. You're holding her hand like she's your girlfriend, Kevin. What do you think I'm thinking? He didn't answer. I stood up. My legs felt like jelly. I wasn't sure if I was going to cry or scream or throw something. Instead, I walked to the sink and stared at the dishes. Anything but his face. Then he spoke again. It didn't start like that. It was just talking. I was going through a rough patch and I spun around. Rough patch? With who? Because you didn't bring anything to me. You walked around like everything was fine. You were my rough patch. He lowered his eyes and nodded like he was agreeing with me. I think that made me more furious than anything else. Then he said something that still haunts me. I didn't know how to stop it. That was his excuse. Like the affair was some runaway train and he was just along for the ride. Like he wasn't the one driving to her place. Texting her. Holding her hand. Lying to me. I didn't mean for it to become physical, he added. So, I asked the question that had been stuck in my throat. How long? He paused. Too long. That pause told me everything. 8 months. 8 months. I sat back down. My hands were shaking. My body felt cold. He reached for my hand, and I pulled away. You cheated on me for most of a year, I said. And you came home every night like nothing was wrong. Slept next to me. Kissed me. Ate my food. Told me you loved me. He didn't try to deny it. Just stared at the table like the wood grain was going to give him the answers. Then, another twist. She doesn't know about you. That caught me off guard. What do you mean she doesn't know? He looked miserable, but that didn't matter to me. Not anymore. She thinks I'm single. So Kelsey wasn't some homewrecker. She wasn't part of some messy poly setup. She thought she was dating a single man. And I was the secret. That was the moment it hit me. This wasn't a one-night mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was a full double life. I didn't even cry. I just went numb. He asked if I wanted to talk. I told him to sleep on the couch. I couldn't look at him anymore. The next morning, he was gone. No note. No message. Just gone. At first, I thought he ran to her. I imagined him showing up at her place, spinning some new lie. But something felt off. I called his phone. Straight to voicemail. Then I checked the bank app. He'd pulled out almost $2,000 the night before. That's when I panicked. I texted him, "Where are you?" No reply. I called his sister. She hadn't heard from him. I called one of his crew guys, Mike. The one he always blamed for random texts. Mike said Kevin hadn't shown up for the job that morning. No call. Nothing. So I waited. Hours. Then, around 6 p.m., I got a call from a number I didn't know. It was Kelsey. Her voice was quiet. Nervous. Is this his girlfriend? I almost dropped the phone. She continued, I found your number in his truck. I don't know who you are, but I think we need to talk. We met that night. At a diner off I-84. She was sitting in a booth when I got there, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee like it was the only thing keeping her steady. I slid into the seat across from her. We didn't say anything for a second. Then she pulled out her phone and showed me a picture. Kevin. At her place. Cooking. Smiling. Last week, she said. I showed her mine. The one of them holding hands at the bar. We didn't cry. We didn't yell. We just compared stories like puzzle pieces. Every lie he told me, he told her a different version. She thought he lived alone. Said he told her he was still getting over a divorce. I told her I'd lived with him for 5 years. She looked sick. Then she dropped the real bomb. He told me he had cancer. I blinked. What? She nodded. Said he was going through treatments. That's why he disappeared sometimes. Why he couldn't stay over. I offered to go with him, but he said he didn't want me to see him that way. I was speechless. He told me he was working overtime. He told her he was dying. We both sat there in shock. Kevin hadn't just lied, he had built 2 entire worlds and kept them both alive for almost a year. But where was he now? Neither of us had heard from him. Then Kelsey said something that turned my stomach. He's been acting paranoid lately. Kept saying someone was watching him. Kept checking over his shoulder. That didn't sound like guilt. That sounded like something else. I went home that night not knowing where he was. Not knowing if he was at a hotel, her place, or buried under a new set of lies somewhere else. I wish I could say that was the end of it. But the worst was still coming. After Kevin disappeared, and after I met Kelsey at the diner and found out he had been lying to both of us, me, his girlfriend of 5 years, and her, the woman he was seeing for almost a year, I thought that was the worst of it. But I was wrong. It had been 2 days since Kevin vanished. No texts. No calls. No activity on his socials, not that he used them much. His phone still went straight to voicemail. Kelsey hadn't heard from him either. We both filed missing persons reports. It felt surreal, calling the police and trying to explain how my boyfriend had possibly run off because he was exposed for cheating. I remember the officer asking me, was he suicidal? And I just paused. I didn't know how to answer. Maybe? Or maybe he was just a coward. The officer took the report and said they'd keep an eye out. The next night, I got home from work and something was off. My side gate was open. We don't use the side gate. Ever. It sticks, and you have to really force it to get it to budge. I checked the backyard. Nothing looked touched, but that didn't matter. My stomach dropped. I felt like I was being watched. I texted Kelsey, have you had anything weird happen? She replied instantly. Yes. My dog was barking like crazy at the back fence last night. Nothing was there. Or so I thought. So now we were both on edge. A man who lied to us, disappeared, and maybe was creeping around our homes? This was no longer just a cheating story. It felt like a crime thriller. The next day, Kevin's truck turned up. It was parked behind a gas station in Cuna, about 30 minutes away. No damage, no tickets. Just sitting there like someone left it and walked away. Inside? His phone. Dead. His wallet with his ID. And in the center console, an envelope. It had my name on it. Not our name. Just mine. I opened it at the police station, hands shaking. Inside was a handwritten note. I didn't mean to hurt you. I lost control. I didn't know how to stop. I need to fix this. I can't let her know everything. Please don't show her. I'll make it right. Just give me time. I read it twice. I can't let her know everything. I handed it to the officer. He made a copy and returned it to me. Said they'd keep the truck and call if anything else came up. I called Kelsey on the drive home. Told her what the letter said. She went quiet. Then she said, he lied to me about everything. What else could there be to know? I didn't have an answer. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat up rereading the note, trying to figure out what he meant. And then something clicked. He wasn't afraid of me knowing the truth. He was afraid of her finding out. He'd already told me the worst things. The cheating, the lies, the fake cancer story. But what if there was more? I remembered something she said, that he was always checking his surroundings, acting paranoid. Then I remembered something I had seen months ago. A bank receipt. Not from our joint account. From an account I didn't recognize. At the time, I thought it was from a side business thing, some side project he mentioned in passing. But now, it nagged at me. So I did what I probably shouldn't have done. I reached out to one of Kevin's old crew guys. Not Mike. Another guy, Will. Young guy, early 20s, didn't say much but had always been polite to me. I asked if he remembered Kevin doing any work off the books. He hesitated. Then he said, "You mean that storage unit stuff?" "What storage unit stuff?" He paused. He used to meet a guy out by the storage units off Federal Way. Cash jobs. Like, every few weeks. Always weird about it. Didn't like us asking questions. That was it. I drove there the next morning. There's a long stretch of storage units tucked behind a tire shop and a pawn store. I parked and walked around, not sure what I was even looking for. Then I saw it. Unit 209. Locked, but scratched into the metal frame. K&B. Kevin and Barnes. Kelsey's last name. I didn't have a key, but I did what anyone with a gut full of betrayal and 2 years of self-defense classes would do. I called a locksmith and lied. Said I lost the key to my rental unit. Gave him a fake name. Slipped him $100 and within 10 minutes, I was inside. What I found made my heart stop. Inside were boxes. Plastic bins. Shelves. Nothing crazy at first glance. But inside one bin? Dozens of photos. Of Kelsey. From her social media. From her house. From inside her gym. Some looked like they were taken through windows. Then I found another folder. This one had my name on it. Photos of me. At work. Leaving the grocery store. In the backyard. Sitting on the porch. He had been watching us. Both of us. I called the police immediately. Told them everything. The unit, the photos, the note. Kelsey met me there. She cried when she saw the pictures. I felt sick. We still didn't know what Kevin was planning. But whatever it wasn't just about cheating. It was obsession. Control. The officer said they'd open a formal investigation. And as of today, Kevin is still missing. But someone tried to reset the password on my email last night. And a neighbor told me they saw someone walking near my fence again. I don't sleep much anymore. I don't know where he is. But I know he's not finished yet. The week after finding the storage unit, I stayed with my sister in Twin Falls. My neighbor agreed to check on the house while I was gone. The cops said they were looking into it, but hadn't classified it as a criminal case yet. They said, until he makes a direct threat, there's not much we can do. I told them, so the stalking folders don't count? Apparently not. Kelsey moved in with her cousin in Caldwell. She was jumpy. She changed her number. She even dyed her hair. We talked almost every day. Bonded in the weirdest way. 2 women dragged through the same mud by the same man. Then, one night, I got a call. From a blocked number. I didn't answer. It rang again. Same number. This time, I picked up. It was Kevin. His voice was calm. Too calm. "I'm sorry," he said. I didn't speak. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I just couldn't let go of either of you. You both felt like home in different ways. I finally found my voice. You stalked us, Kevin. You took pictures of us without us knowing. You lied to us. There's no love in any of that. He went quiet. Then, can we meet? One last time. Just to talk. You pick the place. I said no. He begged. Against my better judgment, I said, if I agree, it's public. Middle of the day. Crowded place. And if you try anything, I'm walking and calling the cops. He agreed. We met at the Boise Co-op downtown on a Saturday afternoon. It was packed. Families, couples, college kids. I picked the outdoor patio. I wore a black hoodie. Kelsey came too, she insisted. She said, if he's going to lie, I want to hear it to my face. He showed up right on time. Looked thinner. Pale. Hollow eyes. Like he hadn't slept in days. He saw us sitting at the metal table and paused, probably expecting me alone. I waved him over. My heart was racing, but I didn't let it show. He sat down, looked at both of us and exhaled. I owe you both the truth, he said. And I know you won't forgive me, but I need to say it. Kelsey crossed her arms. Then say it. And that's when it all spilled out. He admitted everything. The cheating, the lies, the fake cancer, the storage unit, the pictures. But then he told us something we weren't expecting. There were others, he said. Kelsey looked like she was punched in the chest. How many? I asked. 4. Before Kelsey. 4. He kept a journal, he said. Details. Notes. Where they lived, how long he dated them, what lies he told. He said it helped him manage everything. Like we were little projects. Versions of a life he couldn't pick between. He never lived alone. He always had someone. He would start the next relationship while ending the current one. That way, he never had to feel alone. Why the storage unit? I asked. He looked embarrassed. I thought, if something ever went wrong, I'd have a record. Proof that I loved you both. That it wasn't fake. Kelsey leaned across the table. That's not proof of love. That's proof of obsession. You were collecting us like pets. People started turning their heads. A few were clearly listening now. Kevin tried to defend himself. Said he never meant to hurt us. Said he never laid a hand on anyone. Said he was just bad at love. That's when I snapped. I stood up and said, loud enough for people to hear, "You didn't just cheat, Kevin. You made me think I was crazy. You made her think you were dying. You tracked us. You watched us. That's not bad at love. That's emotional abuse. And now you're going to deal with what that means." A woman at a nearby table clapped. I think she thought it was some dramatic breakup moment. She wasn't wrong. Kevin didn't say a word. He just nodded. Kelsey walked off first. I followed. We didn't look back. Kevin turned himself in the next week. He handed over the journals. Gave a full statement. There weren't any explicit threats, so no jail time, but the stalking evidence was enough for a restraining order. I got one. So did Kelsey. Two of the other women came forward. One had a breakdown after learning she wasn't the only one. The other had already suspected but never had proof. She thanked me for blowing it open. Kevin's business tanked. Word got out. Nobody wanted to hire a contractor with crazy stalker cheater floating around on local Facebook groups. He left town after a few months. Last I heard, he was living somewhere in Montana. Alone. Good. I spent months thinking I was stupid for not seeing it sooner. For letting clearing his head pass as a valid excuse. For forgiving too easily. For loving someone who never loved me back the way I needed. But I've made peace with it now. Sometimes, the person you're in love with is just a mask. A version of themselves they put on because they know what you need. But that mask always slips eventually. When it did, I had to decide, do I chase the man I thought he was, or do I walk away from the man he really is? I chose to walk. Kelsey and I still talk sometimes. We joke that we survived a small-town sociopath together. We share updates. Therapy stories. Healing stuff. I'm dating again. Carefully. Slowly. On my terms. I don't need someone to be my peace anymore. I am my own peace now.